Hello, Michelle Lessard from Camino Concierge. Welcome to Paso del Camino project about to the within the Camino Santiago to the Camino Santiago, and it's so awesome pleasure to have you here talking to me about something that we both like. That is the Waves and James, the Camino Santiago. Thank you so much from the bottom of my
My,
heart.
my absolute pleasure. It's so exciting to be here, to be a part of what you are doing. The Camino is such a great movement. It is such a human experience that I would hope that everyone can experience. And getting the word out is what we have to do and what we need to do. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're doing that.
So thank you so much. Let's start with a challenge, okay?
Okay.
I will let me just please you need to just tell me if you can hear, okay? I'll put playing three songs, okay? And
Okay.
you just have to connect them to the Camino, okay? Nothing more, okay? First one. You hear this?
It's really light and faint, but it's from the way, I think. Is that in the way?
That is in the way, yeah.
Yes, okay. I don't know the name. I do not know names of songs or anything, but I recognized it.
And this
Because
one.
just to
And,
let you know, every morning when I walked the Camino, I had the soundtrack on my phone and
oh.
I listened to it every single morning, the whole soundtrack of the
And
way.
this one, of course, this one too. To the highway, won't
Yes.
you go be your name?
Oh, that's awesome.
This one and the next one for me, from that soundtrack, are just, for me, they are amazing. Uh,
Yes.
they just, oh
Yes.
my god. And that's my favorite movie ever. And this too. Of course, you have Lost from Coldplay. You have Thank You from Alanis Morissette too. But these two really are really special for me. These two songs, and
Yes.
I know every line of that movie. It's just amazing.
Well, and to let you know, although I knew about the Camino probably 20 years before I walked it, I was living in the UK. I was living in England for work. I was helping to expand a software company to Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And so I did a lot of travel through Portugal and also through Spain, and had a lot of business travel. And that's how I learned about the Camino. I'd never walked it. I didn't really know. I just kind of learned about it. People would mention it. I'm like, oh, interesting. Didn't know much more. And then I'm a big trekker. I'm a big hiker. I love hiking. And for one summer, I lived in a beautiful area called Lake Tahoe. It's a stunning, beautiful, beautiful, one of the highest elevation lakes. And I lived a summer there just trekking and hiking. And it was after a very long software project. I'm a software consultant. And I was traveling across the country every single week. And I was exhausted. And so I just spent a summer hiking in Tahoe in the beautiful pines and the beautiful mountains, which, by the way, part of the Pacific Crest Trail
Yeah.
goes through there. So I did walk part of the Pacific Crest Trail, and I just really, really enjoyed it. Then afterwards, in October, I came back to Arizona, and there was a movie in Netflix that I had, and I had it flagged as a favorite, but I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know anything about it. I just had flagged it, but I kept pushing it away the whole summer. It was in my favorites. And I kept, no, I'm not going to watch that. I don't know what it is, but I'm not ready to watch that. And then in October, right when I got back, I watched that movie, The Way. And telling you, it got me. It got me. So literally, after that movie, I was on my computer booking a flight I was at our camping store, our hiking store called REI for 3 days. And I prepared for 3 days and went on the way.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So
And
I still
why?
relate.
And
That movie can change your life, and it changed mine.
that's it. That's it, Aki. But why you do you know why you walked the Camino for the first time?
Well, one, it was at that point in time where I could, because I was in between software projects. So in America, all we do is work, right? We work too much in America. And to get a month holiday is not a normal thing in America, maybe 2-3 weeks if you're lucky. And so for us to go to the Camino, because we have to fly so far and get there, you need to give it a lot of time. But I was in between. I was working for myself. I didn't work for another company. I was in between projects, didn't have anything. And then that movie just moved me. But the main reason why was I was at kind of a transition point in my life where I didn't know what turn to make next. And I'm also a seeker, and I'm always seeking to better myself, to understand people. And the one thing that I realized in my life is that I may not have understood what love really was. And so that was the main reason why I walked the Camino. It was that point of transition, of seeking my next step. But it was also, I wanted to learn about love. And that's the one thing the Camino teaches you a lot. You learn about how to love others when you truly love them and when you don't love them. You learn to love yourself, and you also learn about God's love. If you're in a believer of God, of your God, you learn all of that on the Camino in so many different lessons along the way. And that was the one major thing I was seeking and to understand.
Fantastic. Do you know it's almost common to every pilgrim in some sort of way. The Camino always changes, right? You are not the same when you start and then when you arrive in Santiago. So in how the Camino changed you?
Well, one thing that I think it changes for a lot of people, unlike me, for me, I already knew this. I was always a traveler. I've traveled all over the world. I understand, and I seek to understand and enjoy cultures, and that all of us are human beings, and we all have the same pains. We all have the same insecurities. We all have the same challenges. And so a lot of people who walk the Camino, especially people who've never traveled and met people from other cultures and around the world, that is something that they learn, is that we're all the same. It doesn't matter your race. It doesn't matter your sex. It doesn't matter your culture. It doesn't matter your religion. I walked with an atheist, someone who didn't even believe in God, and it doesn't matter what your belief is. We are all human beings. We can all interact, and we all are actually the same people. We really are. And that's something that I know a lot of people have learned over the Camino, if they're not if they're not privileged to be able to travel a lot and meet people from all over the world. So that's one thing. For myself, I typically am a planner. I typically am a person who likes to be in control, and not in a bad way, but in the point where you plan your life, right? You plan your career, you plan, everything. And with the Camino, I gave it all up. I didn't plan it. I literally went in 3 days, and I said to myself, I said, if I can get these 3 things done before I go in the Camino, I'm just going to let it all fall into place. And the 3 things were, I needed a sleeping bag because I didn't have one. I had one since I was a little girl, so I didn't have a sleeping bag. I didn't have a backpack. I had never had a long trek before in my life. And I needed my flight, right? I needed to be able to get to there. So when in those 3 days, when everything fell into place, and I had hiking boots, I had, trekking gear, I had all of that. But if all of those 3 things fell into place, and I'll say one more thing, I did book, it was kind of like a bed and breakfast, a little pension in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. I did book that because I always, when I want to go somewhere, I want to make sure at least I know where I'm going to lay my head that first night. That was it. And then everything else just came into place. And that was kind of a really wonderful thing for me to experience, is not a planned holiday. It's not, you didn't know where you were going to end up. You had an idea. I used the John Burley book, right?
Yeah.
So I used this one because it was English speaking. I had an idea of where I was going to go, but I didn't book a pension, or I didn't book an albergue. I just would show up in the town. By then you had a lot of friends, and you just find where you're going to sleep. You find where you're going to eat. You get up the next morning, you find where you're going to have your first coffee. And you just, you find where you're going to have your break, and you just be. And I think that was something that was a great experience for me, that changed me, that the Camino provides, as everyone talks about. But what changed me is the world provides, the universe provides. It really does provide if you let it.
Genial, genial, gracias. That's fantastic. That's genius. That's genius. So, every day on the Camino, it's a roller coaster of emotion. Newly pilgrims, old pilgrims, just the share, the happiness, the sadness are all over it. The pain, the glory are just, and each moment, even if for a normal eye could be insignificant, could be really special for us, And for me, one of that moments was in Pontevedra. In Pontevedra, on my third Camino, in Pontevedra no Portuguese Camino, on the part of Spain, I met these three and more two after amazing girls from Seattle. They were just outstanding. And
Did you say Seattle?
Yes, I said Seattle. Yes, Seattle.
Yeah, that's where I was born and raised.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm originally from.
Maureen, Lori, other Maureen, Kristen, and another Maureen. There are three Maureen. Yeah. Lori, Kristen. There was just and Chesty, not Maureen, Chesty. There was just amazing. They were just outstanding. And after we met in Pontevedra, we shared everything on that Camino. After that, on the last 3-4 days, it was just outstanding to share everything with them. It was just they were drinking like so many beers. So you have the idea, you cannot have the idea. And we are starting drinking beer at 11 a.m. in the morning, just drinking beer. But just met with them in that Camino was really, really special. And was one of the best moments was when I met them, on searching. So although we live in different parts in the world, we have kind of in compares to the Spanish something in common. We like to have dinner earlier, okay?
Yes.
You even more than us, but we are all at 6:47. We like to start making dinner, okay? So at 7, I was searching for dinner, but in Spain it's almost impossible to find any place where the kitchen is open.
Yes.
So I was searching around, I couldn't find anything. Then I just stopped in this small place bar restaurant within just not more than just 4 tables. Outside you have the balcony, you have the 4 tables inside, there's 2 more outside. That was really small place. There's no one inside, just the owner, his daughter, and nothing more. So I went there. I just tried to convince the owner to do me a quick meal, and the guy, I've done it something. Then I was drinking a beer outside, just eating that with some chips with veal meat, I guess. Um, and suddenly, I just saw three girls approaching me. They look like a pilgrims, but they were approaching me and they're like really looking into me, really serious. And that was awkward. That was awkward. Then I just said, so you want anything? What are you doing? Are you pilgrims? So then of course we met. They had dinner with me. After
Nice.
that, we went to right in front of the bar. There was like a artisanally place for beer, a brewery with some artisanal beers. We went
Mhm.
there. We had some more beers, and then we just walked together. It was just outstanding. That was one of my best moments on the Camino.
Oh,
Definitely. Um, so that's my next question. And that's it. Imagine that you could go back in time
mhm.
and you have the opportunity to relive again your best moment on the Camino. Which moment you choose?
Oh, there is so, there's so many.
Yeah.
But I will just say it's so crazy because my Camino was October 9th. So I did 30 days from Saint Jean and so it was just past the real busy time. So it was exquisite time to walk because it was still warm, going through like the Meseta and through parts of Spain. But at the same time, it was nice and chilly, getting higher in the mountains, no snow. But it was chilly, and so you could layer up, and then you get hot and you take it off. And I just enjoyed that. So that was a perfect time. Well, November 10th is my birthday.
Yeah.
So I arrived Santiago on the eve of my birthday.
Oh.
And in my pilgrimage, I don't know what it was, but we had such a big group of people who got to know each other. Because when you walk, you get to know, first of all, the day, and I went alone, like many people, but I did go alone. Wasn't with a tour, wasn't with anything. I just flew to Paris by myself and then took the train there. So when I started walking, I knew nobody, except for by the time I got to Roncesvalles, there I was a single girl. I met another single girl from America. She met a girl from Korea. We walked into the place for dinner.
Yeah.
And three ladies, great. And they put us all in this one table. It was all single women. And it was probably 10 of us around this big round table, and we all got to know each other. And so there was an instant bond. We all, a lady from Russia, from UK, from Australia. I mean, people were from all over the world. And we just got to create that wonderful bond day one. Then once you keep walking, you start to know the people that you're walking at around the same pace. But then there are people who started earlier than you that are slower. So you start getting to know them because you've now surpassed or have joined them. Then there are people from behind you that are faster walkers. And so so you end up knowing these pods or bubbles of people that are a few days ahead of you, that started a few days ahead and a few days. So it's almost like a week of people that you get to know if you really think about that, and how some will take days off and so on. So when you look at that, and like I said, it wasn't prime time summer, but when you look at that, you get to know all these people in this kind of 5 to 6 to 7 week time frame. When you get to know them, and you may have met them only one night, you may have met them just having a conversation as you surpassed them, but you get to know them all. And once you go into Santiago, we all converge there at the same time. And when we kind of just passed this little note to everybody and just said, hey, on the Santiago, if you're there on the 9th, because we were all thinking we're going to be there around the 9th. If you are there around the 9th at 8 o'clock, or if it was like 8 o'clock, we're going to meet in the plaza, by the cathedral. 45 people showed up. 45 of us that had just all collected together. We were taking pictures and celebrating. Again, it was people that were ahead of me and behind me and during my walk. And then we decided as a mass we were going to go to tapas, and have some dinner. Well, no restaurant can house 45 people, let alone the locals. But they did. I kept looking at this Spanish girl and kept talking to her. I'm like, we're going to have to split our group up. She goes, never. You never split up a party in Spain. Okay. So we're all together. They literally fit us all in these tables, grouped us together, had dinner. Then as a mess, we walked and we went to a club, a dancing place, and it was actually downstairs. So they literally, the DJ started up the music early for us because they don't start until 1, 2 in the morning. This is, close to about 11 to midnight. They started up the music for us and we were just dancing away. There's all of us, we're dancing down there. Then at midnight, all of a sudden the music stopped and they all sang happy birthday to me. Oh. And I was just, my heart just, I mean, it was like it burst. It was just so much. And that was there where remember I told you I walked the Camino because of love?
Yeah.
And that was the most deepest love I have felt, just from a bunch of people who were once a stranger. And I just may have passed them in the night, to the point where everybody was celebrating my birthday. So that was a beautiful, beautiful moment I will never forget. And just so you know, a year later, a bunch of us got together again. We had an anniversary. And the anniversary, they figured, because a lot of the people were from Europe, and they said, well, let's go to Paris because it's a central area. So November 9th, the following year, there was a whole group, about 9 people that met in Paris. I flew because it was my birthday. And it was a very big birthday. It was a bigger birthday for me. It was very, very big, important birthday for me. And so I just flew for a long weekend. I had airline miles and I just flew over and joined them. One of the gals from Poland stayed with me in a hotel. A bunch of them stayed in other places together, and we all converged and had a whole weekend in Paris. And again, it was my birthday, so we got to celebrate that as well. But those are, those were lasting relationships. We're all still friends on Facebook. We're all still keep in contact with each other through social media. And if I'm in Europe again, when I can travel again, you bet I'm going to be visiting them. But that is all about Camino love. It doesn't matter how long you meet a person. The love and the friendship that you create is so quick and so deep. And that's one of those lessons of the Camino love that I learned, but also my special moment was my birthday.
That's just amazing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah.
So, like you, like me, I guess we feel the need to share our experiences. This is so, I guess this is so important to us that we want for people in our surroundings, for our friends, family, to feel the same, right? So when did you feel that you needed to share your experience?
It was after day 1. I mean, after climbing the Pyrenees and just what I experienced even in that first day, I knew I was going to be sharing this. And by the way, remember, I prepared in 3 days. And in those 3 days before I left, I met a bunch of girlfriends and we went out for sushi. And I was telling them, oh, by the way, just so you know, I'm flying to France. I'm walking across the northern peninsula of Spain, and I'll see you in a little over a month. I think I took total of 5 weeks on my trip because I did spend some time in Barcelona, and I spent 3 days in Santiago at the end of my Camino, and went to Finisterre. So I was able to kind of have some extra wonderful time. So I told them all, and they're like, what? They were freaking out because Americans they don't just pack up and go on things. That's, a spontaneous trip like that. Then 2, backpacking is not a normal thing. People will go to holiday, and stuff like that. And 3, it's going into a foreign country, right? Because in America, not as many people travel as much as in Europe and places like that. But they knew my spirit. They know that I used to live over there. And they know, my spirit and my love for hiking. So they're like, okay, this makes sense for you, but we don't know what this is. And so that was the first group I could explain what that was. And I think the way it only been out for like a year. And so it didn't have the audience that it does now, the movie. So those were the first ones that I had to explain and share. But then I told them all, I'm going to blog this on Facebook, follow me. And they did. And they all blogged it to the point where my cousin, I remember him telling me he would copy it off. He'd put it in this Word document. He actually pasted all of my blogs together because he had a friend at work who had heard about the Camino and wanted to know about it. And so he shared it with her. And then my blog or my posts were being shared in other ways. One scenario which touches my heart is one of my friends, her father was dying in the hospital and he was not conscious. And she would go every day and she would read my posts to him while he was in the hospital bed. Don't know if he ever heard them, but he was sharing my adventure with him through his last few days on earth. And it was just beautiful to know that my words and my experience and my journey was being shared and shared and shared and shared. And even Friday, I had a meeting with a client and they asked, oh, what are you doing this weekend? I said, oh, I get to be interviewed for a podcast from someone from Portugal. And they're like, why? And then I was able to share with them what the Camino was. So I probably talk about the Camino minimum to a stranger once a week, minimum, if not more. And I speak about it more while I'm hiking here in Arizona. There's a lot of hiking. And when you can just tell someone has a passion for hiking and exploring. And so I share it with them. And sometimes it's the first time they've ever heard about it. Others, they've heard about it and they're like, oh, I want to do that. It's such a dream. But it's a dream that they keep pushing off and pushing off. And I keep encouraging them, don't push it off. Just go. Just go. You will be so glad and you will never regret it.
You're just amazing, just outstanding. Thank you. So even following that same answer, what advice would you give to a person that never walked the Camino?
It's funny because, like I said, it takes one to know one. I'm a control freak, right? I control things and I also prepare. And in my journey, that I already shared that with you, it gave me a big lesson that you don't need to prepare and you can just let life go. And it'll all turn out, which is so fantastic. And so some advice I would tell a lot of people, because this is what happens. And I've been watching people, they're preparing for decades. They're preparing for years. And I know part of that is that they're keeping their dream alive, right? They have the dream to walk the Camino. They're keeping it alive. But people will prepare for years. And I'm like, you don't need to prepare that long. People over obsess about their preparations. And I always tell people, you know what, you don't need to prepare that much. You don't need to do that. The main thing is, just do a little practice beforehand, right? Practice a little bit. And I have a funny story on practice. I had bought hiking poles the day before I walked onto the plane. I'd never used them, never used my hiking poles. And I knew I wanted them because they would help with knees and help a lot of declines that you go through. And the hiking poles take about 25% of the pressure off. So I knew I wanted them. So I thought, okay, well, here I am, literally right, in St. Jean. I'm setting up my poles, I'm walking, I'm setting up, and they fall apart. I am panicking. And I look at this man and woman next to me, French, don't know any English. I just show this to him because they have poles. He looks at me, he smiles, he kind of puts it all back together for me. And then I start learning. I should have practiced, right? So practice a little bit. And I mean, practice with your gear. One thing I did not do, again, because I went so quickly, is I did a lot of trekking. So my body was ready for trekking. But my body was not ready for a 20-pound pack 11, whatever, 12 kilos on my back. I wasn't ready for that. So that would be the one thing is, you don't need to over prepare your body. Your body is going to adjust no matter what. The first week, if you do like a long one, that first week, your body is just adjusting. That's all it's doing. So practice with your gear, practice with your pack filled, things like that. So just do a little practice, not a whole thing. Don't over obsess about your preparations. Don't do it. Get the basics.
Great advice.
Everything will come to you. All your first aid needs, all, even clothes. People bring more clothes than they need and leave it. And you can, there are sporting stores along the way, not in the small villages, but you can always find what you need. There's always a market for food. I had lots of cheeses and salamis and breads and things. You can just find anything you need along the way. The biggest thing that I would tell people is be present. And that's, being present in the evenings. If you want to spend and celebrate the evenings with your fellow pilgrims. I sometimes wouldn't even talk, and I would just sit there and listen to the stories and listen to the journeys and their sorrows and their happiness. I would just sit there and be present at meals. And those were some of the most exciting times. I also was very present, and I tell people to be present in the day. And there might be a day where you walk alone and you might want to just be present in your own voice, having your own voice, and no earbuds, no nothing, no music, no nothing. Be present in nature. You will be amazed what you hear. You hear the click clack of other people's poles or their feet coming up behind you. You'll hear the birds, you'll hear the traffic, you'll hear the Spanish families. So just, be present. And there'll be days where you want headphones in and you want to get motivated and listen to your music, all good. And then there's other days or parts of the day you're going to want to chit chat and talk to someone while you're walking along. But be present in all of that. Try not to distract yourself with the modern day distractions, because you could get that at home. This is a place where you truly learn, and I hope people seek to be present. So that would be my 3 things, I guess.
That's amazing. It's amazing. Actually, you made me remember of one of my awkward stories. Awkward. Well, I maybe feel out of space. Let me explain to you. So on my second Camino, it was my first on foot, but it was, I guess, that one that really were more challenging physically. I had some knee problems, some blisters, but one of the things that I don't like, and I had to done that last year because of the virus. I don't like to book in advance. I like just to go and see where I can stop. In Santiago, when I arrived there, I didn't have any place to sleep. So I was searching for an Uber. I was searching. I couldn't find it. There, everything was full. Then I found one in the on the part of the French Camino. So I stayed there, and after that, I don't know. It was a big one, like 300 places or something like that. There was like big ballroom where, I don't know, there were some tables. In one table there are like 50% 50 viewers, and on that table I was the only one that had walked the Portuguese Camino. So there was like this: I walked the French Camino, I walked the Camino del Norte, I walked the Primitivo, I walked the French, I walked the Portuguese. So but that time there were like 50 people, everyone sharing red wine, sharing stories. There was that like a guy, Austrian from Austria, filming some stories, filming pilgrims, talking about their experiences. Uh, that moment was really also one one of the many, but was really really special for me. But that the Camino, until now, okay, although I'm Portuguese, but the Camino that I don't know, for me was more special because it was a Camino where I where I prove myself that if there's something that puts me down, I can get up easily.
Yes.
It was a Camino that helped me a lot, even to grow and deal with issues, with problems. And it starts really bad, physically, emotionally, really bad for something that happened on the first day. But then I met like the Camino angels, like I like to call them.
Yes.
I met my Camino angel.
Nicola.
I met my Camino angel, and after meeting this Spanish guy, everything changed, and everything of good that you can have in a Camino, I have with my Camino family. I'm talking about the Primitivo in 2019, and in that Camino there's like this stage similar to to the Pyrenees, but the Pyrenees has more infrastructure. In that stage, you just have 30 kilometers without nothing,
Yeah.
just mountains, nothing. From the point start to the end start to the end point to the start point. There's 30 kilometers without nothing, just mountains. And for me, that's the most special stage ever that I known. Of course, I want to do more caminos, and maybe sometimes may change, but that stage is really special for me. It's it's called Ruta de los Hospitales on the Camino Primitivo. So imagine that that something in the world happens and we have to live our life in a loop. Okay, so we have to walk every time the same stage. Which stage you choose to walk every single day?
Yeah. You know, for me, it was walking through there's a couple areas, so it's hard. For me, I loved the uphill. I loved the Pyrenees. I love going from Saint Jean to Roncesvalles. And the reason why is one, conquering a mountain and walking uphill through elevation and conquering that mountain gives me such great satisfaction. I love going up and conquering that. So that one, anything where it was uphill, I truly enjoyed those parts of the Caminos. And so the Roncesvalles is one. The other reason why I like that one, and there are some others in Galicia as well, is because of the rolling green hills and the sheep and the horses and the cows. And to me, that was just so peaceful to see that. I felt like I was back in England where I lived. And it brought so much peace to me when I see all that greenery. Having been born and raised in Seattle, I'm so used to green everywhere, the Emerald City. And so for the parts of the Camino and the stages that I truly remember and would want to do every day is the uphills. I do love conquering those mountains. And it's the parts where it's lush and green. There's a stage in Galicia where you get to walk through a forest of eucalyptus trees. It is like, it's mystical. It's like a fantasy, it's just so mystical. And those are the parts, it's those nature parts, and then the mountains were the parts that I would do every day.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. So, Michelle, we are almost finishing here, but let's go for the last two questions. First, what is your feeling when you arrive in Santiago?
It was so many feelings. And it's funny that you ask, and you asked that, and then I look back many times. What were those feelings? Part of it was elation, right? You're just so excited. But that was also when I started seeing everybody, and I was celebrating their experiences as well, right? And that's why I loved staying in Santiago for 3 days afterwards, because I'd always show up around the cathedral and see all my other friends that may have had travel day or days to stay behind, or they might have had injuries or whatever. And so what I love to do is the elation, it's the celebration. That was one feeling, and I got to do that over and over as I greeted my other pilgrim family. Yeah. One of it was relief, and there was a feeling of relief. Part of it was there was this feeling of relief in the fact that you do get the eat, sleep, walk, eat, sleep, repeat, right? You get into that, and then for me, since I did a month, towards the end, I was ready for that to be over. You get to that point where like, okay, I'm done. And so there was a relief there that was like, oh, okay. But then there was also this slight, it's not as bad as fear, but it was this slight, it was like a slight gasp in my life going, but now what, right? So that first morning, which was the morning after my birthday, so yeah, we partied until like 2, 3 in the morning. So it was a rougher morning. But that morning, I woke up and realized that was the first morning in a month that I did not have to pack my pack in my backpack and put that on and figure out where I was going to sleep the next day and start journeying. And it was a shock, I guess is kind of the word. It was a little shock. It was a slight fear that, oh my gosh, my life is not that anymore. What is it now? So it was just a whole slew. It was a slew of emotions that you go through that last day when you're walking into Santiago. And also, you don't really know what to expect when you walk in. You don't know. Are you going to break down and cry? What are you going to do? You don't know what you're going to do. Your body will let you do it, whatever that is. I see people fall on their knees and bawl. I see people dancing around and partying. You see everything in between, and you don't know that. And I think that element of surprise of how it affects you is the most exciting part. But you do go through a whole series of emotions that day, that evening, and the next day. And I look back and I'm like, wow, it was, like you said, it was a roller coaster. The whole Camino is like experiencing entire life in 1 month. And then that last day and the next day, it's repeated because of the change in what you've just gone through. You're decompressing. And that is a lot of work, and that is surprising because, like I said, you will be surprised. No one will know how they feel when they walk in. It is going to be a unique experience just to you.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, of course, you can't be so far away from the Camino. Tell us about the Camino Concierge, please.
Yes, thank you for asking. The Camino Concierge literally was born the moment I walked into Santiago. I knew I wanted to share it just like you. It was something that I wanted to share, especially to English-speaking or Americans who do not travel. And I also saw, after you walk, the ins and outs. And so many people asked me, how would I prepare? How would I do this? So I felt, and because of my blog, my Facebook post that got just shared out and out, I thought, well, let me formalize that. Let me put it on a website. So not only can I give this gift back to my own friends and family, but to anybody who speaks English who wants to see the information. So I immediately created a website. The name was born within within a month or so. The name of Camino Concierge was born, and I created all my social media. So I'm on all the social media with the same handle, Camino Concierge.
Yeah.
And I did create the website, and I'm still building it. It's still growing into what it needs to be, but it is a place that I wanted to put all the information, because when I walked the Camino, there was really not a lot of information out there. I walked in 2013, and there was a forum that Ivar puts in, that he's in Santiago. There was that forum. There's a few other blogs, and besides, this was the only book. If you were English speaking, there was no apps. There was nothing at that time. So for me, trying to figure out in 3 days how to pack and what to do, I was very limited. And the frustration I had with forums was that you would ask a question and you get 100 answers, and they would all be different. And what it did is it confused me more than helped me. So what I wanted to do was be able to also put in one place all the main stuff you need to know. It would be my opinions, but it'd be just one. And if you want it, great. If you don't need to. But I just wanted one place for everything that I needed to be prepared for this Camino, rather than forums and being confused by others. So that's one of the things. But I also, on social media, I love sharing. So while I'm on social media, I'm sharing other people's, I'm very active on Instagram. I'm sharing other people's posts, and I'm still sharing my own pictures. So on my Instagram, you can walk through my whole journey in on all my posts. So they're all in chronological order. And so I'm doing that. I'm continuing to update and post my blog. I'm just rewriting it and putting it out there. So there'll be a lot more to come, but it's just my way of giving and sharing information back. I haven't told you this, but my career, I'm a software consultant, but when I started my software career, I was a software trainer. So training people and coaching people is kind of one of my loves and gifts. So this is my way of training and coaching people for the Camino.
That's amazing. Here it is, your Instagram page, Camino Concierge.
Yes.
That's amazing.
I don't think I'm connected with you yet. We need to connect.
Okay, this is the project page. I have my own page, okay? But I will follow you. Now I follow you on my project page, then I will follow you on my personal page.
Excellent. Excellent.
Right now.
Send me a note. Yes, and there's my posts. Yes.
That's your post. That's amazing.
You are seeing my posts are in Galicia now. Oh. So
you're almost arriving.
Yes, I'm almost arriving here.
That's outstanding, outstanding. So a yogi on the Camino. Don't know this one. So last question. When you speak, when you write, when you think about the Camino, what are your eyes saying?
What are my what saying?
Your eyes. What your eyes are saying? What your heart says? What your heart feels?
When I think about the Camino, what it says, and it's kind of like God speaking to me, it says, it's all okay. It's all okay. You will get through this. And it's not about fear, it's about love. I know a lot of people talk about the Camino and they talk about fear. And I want to share this quote because it's something that I really love. It was in a Camino book that I read. It was a lady from the UK, and she said, every now and then you have to frighten yourself to feel alive. And yeah, every now and then you have to frighten yourself to feel alive. And there's another quote, and this was from Andrew McCarthy. Andrew McCarthy is one of our actors in America. He was in a lot of movies. And Andrew McCarthy has a book called The Longest Way Home. And I have read it, and it's all about his travels and how he was seeking to understand himself. But in that book, Andrew McCarthy, he has an excerpt about the Camino, and it's great. You can actually find it online if you just search Andrew McCarthy and the Camino, and part of his excerpt of his book is out there. But one thing that he talks about is that travel conquers fear. That's one of his quotes. So so every now and then you have to frighten yourself to feel alive. That's what Mildred said. And then he says, travel conquers fear. And it reminds me, and I know we can't travel right now. A lot of us can't with the COVID and with the pandemic, but it doesn't matter, that you can still conquer your fear at home. And so when I get in repetition in life, when I feel like, oh, I had some fear about something, when anything like that happens, I go back to think about the Camino. When I go back and think about the Camino, it just goes away. That fear, that everything just goes away, because I know, doesn't matter where I am in life. I could be sitting in Alberta. I could be walking in the middle of, I could be walking in the middle of a pathway. There you go. There's that, Andrews. I could be anywhere. I could be sitting, and it's lovely here in Scottsdale, Arizona. I could be sitting on my patio. You're going to be provided for, and it will be okay. And that's what happens. And that's what I think about when I'm in those times of emotion. I think about the Camino, and it just calms me right down. Thank you for sharing Andrew's post, because it's a really nice post. It's a funny story on how he ended up walking the Camino, but I won't spoil it, but it's at the beginning. He talks about it.
So Michelle, we are finishing here. Thank you so much for this. It was really special. Thank you for all the sharing. It was really amazing. Thank you so much. I want you to know that you have a friend in me. Anything you need, please let me know. And when you can come back, please let me know. In 3 hours, I'm in Galicia, so it's really easy. It's really easy for me to meet with you while you are walking the Camino. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for this opportunity. And see, this is what the Camino does. It continues to build this pilgrim family. It's not just while you walk the Camino, it grows and grows after the Camino. So thank you. You are a brother, you're a pilgrim brother to me. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Okay.